Welcome to Transitions. Today we have an interesting topic for you. It is wills. We all feel that wills are important, I'm sure, and some of us more than others, and we all have different experiences with wills. Today there are two people who are joining me on the set. First up is John Delaney. He is a lawyer here in Winnipeg. Thank you, John, for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And then after I speak with John, Jennifer Eris will join me from the Winnipeg Foundation. And then we'll all get together again for a little roundtable chat. So first of all, with regard to wills, who really can do a will or prepare a will?
Well, anybody can do a will. That is, first of all, anybody over 18 that has capacity can do a will. There are also some exceptions to age, so that some people can do a will who are under the age of 18. But the typical, most basic wills would be done by somebody over the age of 18 at any point in time in their life who has the capacity to do a will. And capacity is a deep topic, but it generally means that you have an understanding of who the natural beneficiaries would be, the natural objects of your, the disposition of your estate would be, what the nature and extent of your property is. You can't be suffering from any delusion of mind, and you have to understand what a will is.
I see. So I would think that there's a certain time when you might want to prepare a will, maybe at the peak of your career or peak of your functioning, when you maybe have the maximum capacity to really do a good job and to be on top of all of your affairs. Because it can be pretty daunting really trying to make sure that everything's covered, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it becomes more difficult if you wait too long and you start to enter into a gray area in terms of capacity. And it makes it more difficult for a lawyer assisting you with creating a will and executing the will and ensuring that the will is going to be valid and not going to be challenged by anybody. If there's a certain time in life, it's not, you couldn't say generally there's a proper time in life for everyone. It would be based on your specific circumstances. Certainly once you start to acquire property, once you start to acquire a family, and you have lineal descendants that you want to protect and to pass your wealth on to, then certainly you should be thinking about a will, and that can be when you're 20, it can be when you're 25, it can be when you're 30. Unfortunately, too many people wait too long. And I will get calls from somebody who has never had a will, is now 87 years old, is in a hospital, is under medication. I've lost the privacy of being able to go and do a proper consultation with that individual, and also that person's mental capacity starts to become questionable, and it makes the chore more difficult, and it makes it more expensive as well.
So I've heard of will kits, and I've heard of people writing their own will. Like, what would be the role of a lawyer with respect to will preparation?
Well, a lawyer, I think, is an instrumental part of estate planning, because most people just don't think of many of the aspects of estate planning. I've had people who have had disabled children, children who would not be able to manage their own money, who come to me and say, I've got an $800,000 estate, and they just want to give their estate to their two children, one with capacity, one without capacity. And I just mentioned to them the fact that one of their children with Down syndrome, how's that person going to manage a $400,000 estate on their own? And the person will look at me and say, oh, I never thought about that. It's a loss of considering strategies by not using a lawyer. You can do your own will. You can do a holograph will. A holograph will is valid in Manitoba, and that's a will that's in your own handwriting with your signature at the end of it. It's a valid document. But as I said, a lot of the problems with that is the failure to adequately consider options and strategies and things that you maybe need a little bit of guidance on in thinking about before you put into place a proper estate plan.
So you're not really saying that the individual who is, let's say, has a disability might not be entitled to that portion, but how to position it so as to maximize their use of
Absolutely.
the estate, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So some things people don't think about is they might have a child who needs protection because they're a gambler, they have drug addictions. And we're not trying to prevent money from flowing to that individual. It's just flowing to the individual in a way that will enhance their life and not be a danger to them. And with a person with a disability, that means allowing somebody else to manage funds for them when they might not be otherwise able to do so. So receiving an inheritance can also put a person offside of social assistance programming that is vital to that individual's well-being. So there are ways to get around that, and usually a lawyer's involved in advising that person and helping them put that structure into place.
So could you make a comment about, I believe it's called Homestead Act, and how that might play out in a will?
So I think what you're referring to is, in Manitoba we have a Homestead Act, and under the Homestead Act, a married couple have homestead rights to the marital home. The homestead rights include the ability to live in that house for the rest of their lives, whether they're the registered owner of the property or not, the legal registered owner of the property or not. And it also provides that person with the right to prevent the disposition, mortgaging, or sale of the property during their life. Now, from an estate planning context, if a person, the wife, owns a house, it's registered in her name. She's living in the house with her spouse. Her spouse has a homestead right, so that if the wife dies, any gift or attempt by her to gift the house to somebody else is subject to the spouse's prior homestead rights, meaning that he can continue to live in the house for the rest of his life or until such time as he chooses to terminate voluntarily his homestead right and prevent any beneficiary of the house from coming in and kicking him out or taking over the house. So a spouse can gift a house to others subject to the homestead right, and it goes a lot deeper than that.
Yeah,
there are also other statutory rights that spouses have and dependents have to the estate of individuals.
So, you know, it's really interesting because this particular topic of wills is just so vast, eh? There's so much information out there that you know, it is good to get professional advice if you can, and you know, try to see whether your estate's small or not. Am I correct there in thinking that whether you have like $1,000 or $100,000 that will be left behind after you're gone, that you should really look at getting some help with preparing a will?
Well, certainly I have a vested interest in that question, I honestly believe that yes, you can avail yourself of advice, especially of an individual lawyer who focuses their practice in estate planning. And when you do so, it opens up opportunities and strategies that you might not have thought of, which will, as I said before, which might assist you with protecting beneficiaries, with maybe reducing probate charges that are payable on your death for probating a will. That might allow you to make gifts to charities and consider strategies with respect to distributions of your estate that without a will are going to be determined in accordance with intestacy law in the jurisdiction where you die. So in Manitoba, if you don't have a will, your estate is distributed, the manner of its distribution is out of your hands. The government has determined under the Intestate Succession Act who gets your property.
And with that too, some people do elect to give as they are alive. And the next guest that's up is Jennifer Eris, and I'm going to chat with her, and then we can continue on with some of the discussion as a group. So I'll just take a pause right now and a little break, and we'll be right back with Jennifer. Welcome back to Transitions. Jennifer Eris is here with me, and she is speaking, will be speaking to you about the Winnipeg Foundation and her role there. So Jennifer, welcome.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about your role at the Winnipeg Foundation.
So I'm the Student Award Specialist at the Winnipeg Foundation, and I deal primarily with individuals, groups, families that want to set up scholarship and bursary funds. I've been with the foundation for 6 years, and it's been I've done a few different roles, and this one has been really, really rewarding because I get to see and put together donors with their recipients of their awards. So it's been really great. Yeah.
That's good. That's good. So how many of those kind of funds would you say you have at the Winnipeg Foundation now?
There's over 3,500 different endowment funds.
Wow.
And that's across a number of different kinds of funds that people can set up. Scholarships alone, there's about 415 scholarship funds that are set up.
My goodness. Oh, that's really amazing. And a lot of that information is on the website. So you'll be willing to sort of take us through a little bit of the website later
Sure.
on?
Yes,
okay,
sure.
that's really good. And what about leaving gifts? Some people really aren't quite sure how to go about it, you know, if they want to actually even start leaving gifts now that they're still here, as opposed to waiting until they've passed on.
Right.
How would they go about that?
Yeah, so there are a few different options that they can do. So it's easy to set up a fund while you're still around to enjoy that. And there are ways that you can set up gifts in your bequests as in your will. We do have a really great dedicated team of legacy folks at the Winnipeg Foundation, and they dedicate their time to helping people craft their will part that the gift that they're leaving to a charity. And it's very simple. We would suggest working with a lawyer and a professional advisor first. There's a lot of different pieces that they can help guide people through their will and creating that and leaving a gift in their estate. And it's a really easy process. We work alongside with lawyers and estate planners that way. So it's a really great relationship.
And I take it then that because you're doing this as part of your work, that you have some funds that are currently being generated in the community to raise the amount that's required in order for the scholarship to be sustainable. Am I correct?
Yeah, so we're endowment based, and so what that means is that the capital will never be touched, and so the gifts will continue to give in perpetuity. So it'll reach a certain amount, and every year it generates income as the gifts are pooled together, and then they generate more income on those funds. And there's a certain percentage every year that gets granted back out to the community, which could mean to various charitable organizations as well as scholarship recipients. So there are a lot of groups and families that come together and raise funds for their capital endowment. And so it can sustain and give out a certain amount every year to a recipient.
Now, something that you had said before, like we had talked at some point, you mentioned gifts that come out of your retirement savings, and how you can actually indicate that there's a fund at the Winnipeg Foundation that you'd like to receive some of those benefits?
For sure.
Yeah.
There are different tools that a lot of people use to leave a gift in their will. Again, we advise you going to a professional advisor for that advice, and they would liaise with us to make sure that we can facilitate that gift for you. But the most common way that people leave gifts is through their will or through a bequest. You can make the charity or the foundation beneficiary of your pension fund. So you can, like for RSPs and things like that. Gifts of stocks and securities can be very tax efficient while you're still alive and also in your estate. And then there's a lot of options with maybe gifting life insurance policies and things like that. So there are a lot of different tools that you could use.
Who do you have on the website? Can someone go and see some videos and other pieces of information, like of people who have left some funds?
Yeah,
Through the
for sure. I think leaving a gift in your will is a very emotional experience. And we have definitely captured some very generous people who have been willing to share their story about why it's important for them to leave a legacy in their community. And so, yeah, there are on our website, there are a number of videos and articles and stories, and it's always nice to bring the whole picture back and understand why someone wants to leave a bequest and their legacy for people to remember them by.
Well, that's very good. I'd like very much to see that video later in the show, but right now it would be really interesting to see what's on your website. And
Sure.
Was it recently redesigned or changed in any way? Or?
Yeah, so we had a big, massive redesign, I think about 2 years ago, and it's a constant update to keep it current, and we always have new stories and new videos, and all of our programs and initiatives that are public, they're on the website as well too. Do you want to take a look at it?
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
So here is the Winnipeg Foundation's website. Up at the top, there's many different ways that you can learn about us as the foundation, who we are, and then news, videos, and publications that we've done. There's also a donor portal where if you already are a fund holder, you can go in and find some really great information about your specific fund. There's also some information specifically on giving. So you can give your own way, and then there's creating your own fund, creating a gift through your will or estate. So let's click on that. And so here is a bit more information on planning now to create a legacy that's reflection of your life and your values. You can also make a gift at any time to any fund at the foundation by clicking on the little button in the right-hand corner, Make a Gift. And it takes you to our online giving page where it tells you how you can make a gift. So if you feel comfortable enough to make a gift online, which it is a safe, secure way to do, there's also ways that you can make a gift by check, phone, in person. You can give through our US account as well. And so all you have to do is search for your fund right here, and it should pop up on the side, and you can go ahead and click on your fund. I'm just going to take you as an example to this first fund here, and I'll show you what it looks like. So it takes you directly to the fund page. It gives a little bit of a description of what the fund is and who started it. And then you can start by entering your information on this page right here, and your gift will have an auto-generated tax receipt sent to you by your email.
And I understand as well, Jennifer, is that if you don't see it among the list, that you can still search for it.
Yes.
And see if it will come out
Yes,
there.
exactly.
Okay, great, thanks. That's really interesting. Yeah, I hope that our viewers find that really good.
Yeah, and if you can't find the fund on there, or if you're having trouble navigating around the website, we're always available to help. Just give us a call or an email, and we'll help you through it.
Well, okay. So you have also a video that we'll show right away as well. Can you just introduce it for us?
Sure. We have the pleasure of having two donors to the foundation that have left a bequest or a legacy behind, and they're going to set up this amazing legacy when they do pass on. And their names are Patrice and Perry, and they're part of our Legacy Circle, which is a commemorative celebration that we have every year, and we celebrate people who have given gifts in their wills and left a bequest that way. And they're going to tell their story about why they decided to leave a legacy.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that now then.
My interest in philanthropy comes from watching my mother, actually. My mother was very generous, both financially and in kind. That was very evident with my friends. I had many friends that would come to our house and, really dine with us and do all those kinds of things. So we spent a lot of time together, our friends. She looked at them just like she did at me. So, for her it was the same. And watching her, I thought that, really it is important to do that sort of thing. And I'm committed to doing what I can to help less fortunate.
So my family, we grew up in South St. Vital. My parents came to Manitoba out of the Japanese internment. So we're all die-hard Manitobans. But my parents, they worked really hard because they came from something and ended up with nothing. So between the beet farm and agriculture. But they always shared anything they had. So whether it was vegetables or time or whatever we had, we wanted to share, and my parents were very, very, adamant about that. Our plentifulness had to be shared with our friends or neighbors. So I think philanthropy has to come from the home, and it certainly did for us. I don't think you can ever take that away, and I think that's a challenge with donors and donations that, people will ask us, well, why do you donate your time, your effort, your money? But it's really the act of giving is just, it's a very special thing, and it's an opportunity that if you don't embrace it, you're going to miss it. And why would you miss giving joy to yourself through giving? It's wonderful.
It's learning about the world.
And investing in the world. We hadn't really thought about a legacy, but our work with the University of Manitoba taught us what a legacy is. And the word is a big word. But we did have some ideas that without having children, where would our assets go to? What would be left behind to benefit others? And so the whole idea of legacy was to sort of pay forward and prepare that, our gifts of caring, compassion, would carry on after we're gone. We may not be remembered for who we are as humans, but that financial gift will plant a seed, and that seed will make our community better.
We wanted our commitment and contribution to continue even when we were not here. And I think the one way to do that is really to have a legacy gift in our wills.
Our initial introduction to the Winnipeg Foundation was quite unique. We were in the process of redoing our wills. We met with a lawyer, and we were really struggling with what to do with our legacy after we pass on. And she suggested, we were struggling with who would we trust, who would we believe would follow our ideals forward in the future. And she suggested we investigate the Winnipeg Foundation. So with her wise advice, we did, and we found this natural match between what we wanted to do and what the foundation does now and probably will do in the future. So it was like this serendipitous thing that just gave so much meaning to our legacy. It was great.
Yeah, making this world a better place.
Yeah.
It's an important thing.
Welcome back to Transitions. We're talking about wills today, and what I'd like to know is what would you say, maybe I'll start with you, Jennifer. What would you say is one of the major changes that have come about with respect to giving, gifts for other people?
Yeah, so online giving has become a really great way to donate. You can give directly to a fund that is near and dear to your heart. You can create a fund while you're still around and willing to be part of it while you're still alive. And you can give online, and then you get an automatic tax receipt sent to you through your email. So it's pretty amazing, and it's fast and easy, and yeah, it's a really great way to give.
And how about yourself? What piece of advice would you give with regard to will making?
Well, I guess if I could give any message to anyone, it would be during your life, early in your life, do estate planning for two reasons. We're talking about estate planning for death, and that's important, but also do estate planning for the potential loss of capacity. So two areas where you should be concerned is the potential during your life that you lose capacity and you need somebody to administer your property and affairs for you. That's part of estate planning. Having somebody making financial decisions for you and being able to step into your shoes and manage your property for you, and making healthcare decisions for you and being able to step in to your shoes and make the decisions for you when you're not capable of doing that. Now, you may never need that. With planning for incapacity, it's an if and when. Whereas planning for death, we know we're going to die. So it's a kind of a two-pronged message that I would like to extend, and that is at an early point in your life, and not waiting until the last moment when you're lying in a hospital bed under medication, is plan for the potential for loss of capacity and plan for the death so that you can have somebody able to manage your affairs for you and make decisions for you during your life, and so that you can distribute your estate after your death in a manner that you want, that gives you the full control and decision-making authority.
So what we're hoping for then is that there'll be more people who will be planning and who will be preparing wills, because the percentages are not high, are they?
No,
in terms of the number of people who are preparing wills.
I'm not sure where it is now, but not in the not too distant past, it was about 50% of people do wills. So if I had the ability to pass an edict, I would pass an edict that everybody should do a will, and they should do the estate planning for incapacity and do estate planning for a will.
So there are some savings too for people if they do plan ahead, isn't it?
There's so many different strategies that open up, some with saving taxes, some with saving probate charges. Absolutely. Those are, again, strategies and concepts that with an estate planning team, who are not just a lawyer, but a lawyer, an accountant, a financial planner, experts in charitable giving, working together as a team can help you make the right decisions that can avail yourself of all kinds of saving strategies.
That's great. That's wonderful. Well, I'd like to thank both of you for coming in today and sharing this knowledge that you have with our viewers. We've thanked them before, and we'd like to thank them again for joining us. And please go to our website and check out previous episodes and see if there are some other topics that may be of interest to you. So thanks for joining us here on Transitions.